As I look around at the world today, I cannot help but feel a sense of sadness and despair. Everywhere I turn, there seems to be conflict and strife, with individuals and groups at odds with one another over issues both big and small. From family feuds to international disputes, the lack of peace and harmony in our interpersonal and social relationships is all too apparent. It is my sincere hope that we can come together as a global community to find solutions to these challenges. We must recognize that at the heart of every conflict is a difference of opinion or perspective, and that it is possible to find common ground if we are willing to listen to one another with an open mind and heart. In my own life, I have found that the key to fostering peace and harmony in my relationships is to approach each person with empathy and compassion. This means striving to understand their unique experiences and perspectives, even if I don't always agree with them. It means being willing to put aside my own ego and agenda in order to truly listen to what the other person is saying. Of course, this is easier said than done, especially in situations where emotions are running high or there is a long history of conflict. But I believe that with patience, perseverance, and a commitment to building bridges instead of walls, we can create a world where peace and harmony are the norm rather than the exception. To achieve this goal, we must also work to dismantle the systems of oppression and inequality that perpetuate conflict and division. This means challenging the status quo, speaking out against injustice, and working to create a more just and equitable society for all. In closing, I urge each and every one of us to take responsibility for our role in creating a more peaceful and harmonious world. Whether it's through small acts of kindness and understanding in our personal relationships or larger efforts to promote social justice and equality, we all have the power to make a positive difference. Let us come together in a spirit of love and compassion to build a brighter future for ourselves and for generations to come. As I continue to reflect on the importance of peace and harmony in our relationships, I am reminded of the many challenges that we face as a global community. From the ongoing threat of terrorism and war to the rise of hate speech and intolerance, it is clear that there is still much work to be done. At times, it can feel overwhelming to think about all of the issues that need to be addressed in order to create a more peaceful and just world. However, I firmly believe that every effort, no matter how small, can make a difference. For example, we can start by looking inward and examining our own attitudes and behaviors towards others. Do we approach others with an open mind and heart, or do we allow our preconceived notions and biases to cloud our judgment? Are we willing to engage in difficult conversations and work towards understanding, or do we retreat into our own echo chambers and refuse to consider other perspectives? By being mindful of our own actions and attitudes, we can begin to create a more positive and inclusive environment in our personal relationships and communities. This, in turn, can help to inspire others to do the same and create a ripple effect of positive change. Of course, it is also important to address the larger systemic issues that contribute to conflict and inequality. This may involve advocating for policy changes or supporting organizations that work towards social justice and human rights. It may mean speaking out against hate speech and bigotry in our communities, or standing in solidarity with marginalized groups. Whatever actions we take, it is important to remember that change is possible. Despite the many challenges that we face, there are countless examples of individuals and communities coming together to create positive change and promote peace and harmony. In closing, I want to reiterate my plea for all of us to work towards creating a more peaceful and harmonious world. Whether it is through small acts of kindness in our personal relationships or larger efforts to promote social justice and equality, we all have the power to make a positive difference. Let us continue to work together, across borders and differences, towards a more just and peaceful world for all. As I continue to contemplate the importance of peace and harmony in our relationships, I am struck by the realization that these qualities are not just desirable, but essential for our survival as a species. Without peace and harmony, we are doomed to perpetuate cycles of violence and division that threaten to tear us apart. This is not to say that achieving peace and harmony is easy or simple. In fact, it is often quite challenging, requiring us to confront our own biases and assumptions, and to work towards understanding and empathy even in the face of disagreement and conflict. But I believe that this challenge is worth it, and that the rewards of peace and harmony are immeasurable. When we are able to cultivate these qualities in our relationships, we create an environment in which trust, respect, and mutual understanding can flourish. We are able to build bridges of connection and communication that transcend differences and help us to see one another as fellow human beings, rather than as adversaries or enemies. Of course, achieving peace and harmony in our interpersonal relationships is just the first step. We must also work towards creating a more just and equitable society, one in which all individuals are treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their race, gender, religion, or other characteristics. This work is ongoing, and requires the sustained effort and commitment of individuals and communities around the world. But I am convinced that we can succeed, and that by working together towards a common goal, we can create a world that is more peaceful, just, and harmonious for all. In closing, I urge each and every one of us to continue to work towards creating a world that is characterized by peace and harmony. Whether it is through small acts of kindness in our personal relationships or larger efforts to promote social justice and equality, we all have the power to make a positive difference. Let us continue to strive towards this goal, with open hearts and minds, and with a deep commitment to creating a better world for ourselves and for future generations. As I continue to ponder the importance of peace and harmony in our relationships, I am reminded of the many different forms that these qualities can take. From forgiveness and compassion to empathy and understanding, there are countless ways in which we can cultivate peace and harmony in our lives. One of the most powerful ways to foster peace and harmony is through active listening. When we truly listen to others, with an open mind and heart, we create a space in which they can feel heard and understood. This, in turn, can help to break down barriers of misunderstanding and conflict, and can pave the way for more positive and productive relationships. Another key ingredient in promoting peace and harmony is the willingness to engage in dialogue and collaboration, even in the face of disagreement and conflict. When we approach others with a spirit of curiosity and openness, we can learn from their perspectives and experiences, and work towards finding common ground and shared solutions. Of course, there will always be challenges and obstacles along the way. We may encounter individuals or groups who are resistant to change, or who hold deeply entrenched beliefs and attitudes that are at odds with our own. But even in the face of these challenges, it is important to remain committed to our goal of creating a more peaceful and harmonious world. In order to do this, we must also be willing to take risks and make sacrifices. We may need to step out of our comfort zones and confront our own biases and assumptions. We may need to speak out against injustice and inequality, even when doing so feels uncomfortable or unpopular. And we may need to make compromises and concessions in order to achieve our shared goals. But I believe that the rewards of peace and harmony are worth it. When we are able to create positive and meaningful connections with others, we experience a sense of joy and fulfillment that is unmatched by any material possession or achievement. In closing, I encourage each and every one of us to continue to work towards creating a world that is characterized by peace and harmony. Whether it is through active listening, dialogue and collaboration, or other forms of positive action, we all have the power to make a difference. Let us continue to strive towards this goal, with determination and courage, and with a deep commitment to creating a better world for all. As I reflect further on the importance of peace and harmony in our relationships, I am struck by the role that forgiveness and compassion play in creating and maintaining these qualities. When we are able to forgive others for their mistakes or shortcomings, and to extend compassion and understanding towards them, we create an atmosphere of grace and generosity that can help to heal even the deepest wounds. Of course, forgiveness and compassion are not always easy to cultivate. They require us to let go of our anger and resentment, and to open ourselves up to vulnerability and empathy. But I believe that these qualities are essential for our well-being as individuals and as a society. Forgiveness and compassion also require us to acknowledge the complexity and nuance of human experience. We must recognize that everyone has their own struggles and challenges, and that it is often our shared humanity that brings us together, rather than our differences. In addition to forgiveness and compassion, I believe that humility is also a key ingredient in promoting peace and harmony. When we are able to recognize our own limitations and fallibility, and to approach others with a spirit of openness and humility, we create a space in which mutual respect and understanding can flourish. Of course, there will always be those who seek to sow discord and division, and who are resistant to the values of peace and harmony. But even in the face of such challenges, I am convinced that we can make progress towards our shared goals, as long as we remain committed to our principles and values. In order to do this, we must also be willing to engage in self-reflection and self-improvement. We must constantly strive to become better versions of ourselves, and to cultivate the qualities of peace and harmony within our own lives and relationships. In closing, I urge each and every one of us to continue to work towards creating a world that is characterized by peace and harmony. Whether it is through forgiveness and compassion, humility, or other forms of positive action, we all have the power to make a difference. Let us continue to strive towards this goal, with patience and perseverance, and with a deep commitment to creating a better world for ourselves and for future generations. As I continue to reflect on the importance of peace and harmony in our relationships, I am struck by the role that empathy plays in fostering these qualities. When we are able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, to see the world from their perspective, we create a foundation of understanding and connection that can help to bridge even the widest divides. Empathy requires us to step outside of our own experiences and to be willing to listen deeply to others. It requires us to approach each situation with an open mind and heart, and to be willing to consider viewpoints and perspectives that may be different from our own. In addition to empathy, I believe that another important factor in promoting peace and harmony is a commitment to social justice and equity. When we work towards creating a more just and equitable world, one in which everyone has access to the resources and opportunities they need to thrive, we create a foundation for positive relationships and mutual respect. Amen.